Is this wild edible native to the Americas actually beneficial for diabetics and cancer? Well, let's find out. Hey everybody, Chad Cruiser here with Health and Homestead, and this right here is called the ground cherry. It has several names. It's called the husk cherry or the huskberry or the Cape gooseberry, but it's commonly known as the simple ground cherry. Why is it called the ground cherry, by the way? You say, well, it looks like it grows on the ground, not in a tree. That is true, but I think there's also another reason. Secondarily, the fruit that you want to eat, it's growing all over it right now, but you don't want to eat it until it's, guess where? On the ground. When it actually falls off the plant, then it's ready. Before that, it can have something, when it's still green, a toxin called solanine. It's the same toxin that you get in a green potato. You don't want to eat green potatoes, because if you eat them, I've done it, you get achy all over your body, your head hurts, your face hurts. I don't know about your face, but your body just hurts and it feels terrible. And so don't eat green potatoes, nor green ground cherries for that matter. And so these are a great fruit. They taste, these ones have a slight pineapple-y flavor. They are sweet, slightly sweet with no sourness, but you say, Chad, I've had them. I bought them at the grocery store. They're ridiculously sour. Or Chad, I bought those dried ones. They are so sour. I've never had something so sour. Well, that's true when I buy them at the grocery store also. But the ones that I'm growing have zero sourness to them. They're like I said, they're kind of a slightly sweet flavor, slightly pineapple-y, tropical flavor, and they're just nice. Now, try them out sometime. But here's the thing also. One of the neat things about the history of them, early on in the United States when the settlers or the pioneers were coming, what they would do is as they were making their westward expansion from the eastern colonies, as they'd press west, they would take with them seeds, obviously, to grow the food that they could sustain themselves on. And they would obviously bring apple seeds and fruit tree seeds, maybe plums and so forth. And as they were moving west, what they would do is, when they would plant those plums or those apples, it may take 3, 5, 7 years for them to get a real harvest of apples and these kind of things. But when it came to ground cherries, they could plant those things right there in the spring, and that same summer, within like 60, 70 days, probably more like 70 days, they're starting to actually harvest potentially some of these ground cherries. So when you lived in a time where there was no Walmart, when there was no grocery store in the area, the only thing you had was the food you had, and to have something sweet and tasty, you might find a few things out in nature, but like the pawpaw, they were in America, but otherwise, there weren't a lot of these real super sweet things. There were berries and so forth, but they could grow these, and so they took these along with them. And then later on, the Amish kind of made them more popular, because the Amish really began to enjoy these husk cherries or ground cherries. And I think maybe they would even make pies out of them, if I remember correctly. But let's look a little bit more at these plants. Now, one of the great things about them is they grow in poor soil. So much so, I have some growing seemingly wild, just maybe 70 feet from here, and it looks like it's almost in pure sand. I'm not suggesting you try to grow stuff in pure sand, but in this situation, they just kind of volunteered themselves over there. And so, yeah, they grow in very poor soil, which for those of us who don't have great soil, this is a plant that is just fun to grow and easy to grow, so you don't have to worry about it so much. They also are they have decent amounts of vitamin A, vitamin C, and also niacin. So this is a plant that has some good nutrition in it for us. But what about the cancer fighting ability? Is that actually true? Do they actually fight cancer? Well, here's a study right here, the Journal of Evidence-Based Complementary and Alternative Medicine, and the title of this study is Cytotoxic and Immunomodulatory Potential Activity of Physalis peruviana. Isn't that a nice name, Peruviana? Maybe you'll name your next daughter Peruviana. It's kind of a pretty name, isn't it? But maybe not. But nevertheless, it is pretty. But does it actually, the research, this particular study showed that sure enough, that there are compounds in this plant, the ground cherry, that inhibit the growth of certain strains of cancer cells. And on top of that, what they found that it also had an anti-inflammatory effect on the body. So this is fantastic. These are beneficial potentially for fighting cancer, and they lower levels of inflammation in the body. So this is very good to know. Now, secondarily, another study was done that actually looked at lowering blood sugar levels after a meal. It's called postprandial blood sugar lowering. They actually found that 90 minutes after eating a meal or eating some of these right here, these ground cherries, it actually lowered the blood sugar of the individuals who are consuming them. So who knows, maybe this is beneficial for people with diabetes. So this is also something to think about. Now, I want you to think about this. Remember, don't eat it till it falls to the ground. And secondarily, at the end of the season, like I can tell, there's not only fruit all over these plants, I mean, they're just covered with the ground cherries, but I can tell because there's also flowers everywhere, and I can even see a bumblebee right now, right near the flowers. And so potentially I'm going to be having fruit come right up until the end of the season when the frost is going to come. And so what you can do then is you can take them, you can pluck them up, you can hang them upside down in your basement, and you can let them dry there, and you can literally have fresh fruit for potentially months, weeks and months hanging in your basement. They'll turn that nice dry color there, and you can just eat them as they are ready to go. Don't eat them when they're green. Remember, wait till they're yellow, and you can eat them that way. Also, this is a wild edible, so you may find this as you're hiking around North America, South America. So you're out and you may have a nice little trailside nibble or add it to your lunch or what have you. So these are another thing to know about. If you happen to be lost in the forest, you may find your ground cherries out there, and you also might be able to eat these. So here's the thing. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button. And we have many videos on scientific studies on the comparison of natural remedies compared to drug medication. In many cases, the natural remedies are even better than the drug medication, or just as good with less side effects. If you'd like to learn more about that, or homesteading with a scientific twist, check out more of our videos. God bless and have a great day.